Thank you for joining us for another edition of Budget in Focus. Today I'm having a chat with the Honorable Prime Minister, Brigadier retired Mark Phillips. And of course we're going to talk about the allocation to his ministry. And there are a lot of sectors, a lot of areas that fall under the office of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, how are you?
Oh, good day, Mr. Bromell. It's a pleasure to be here once again on this program discussing the budget. This is the third time I'm doing this program with you. And once again, we have a budget that is people-centered. But the first budget in 2020, I refer to as the emergency budget. 2021 was more or less like a stage setter budget. But this budget is more a transformative budget. Transformative in the sense that as a country, this budget will allow us to take off into numerous developmental projects that will improve the lives and livelihood of all the people of Guyana, in keeping with our One Guyana concept. The budget, as you would have heard from the Minister of Finance, is historic in the sense that it's the first budget that we'll be able to spend money on improving the lives and livelihood of the people of Guyana from the Natural Resource Fund. Okay, so it's a huge budget. And in terms of my sector, yes, there's been an increase in the allocations available to the Office of the Prime Minister. And quite rightly so, because, you know, in the energy sector, a major part of the energy sector falls under the Office of the Prime Minister, and we have this year two what I would consider mega projects that will commence this year in Guyana. The Amelia Falls project and the gas to energy project. And that is the reason why there's been a tremendous growth in the allocation to the Office of the Prime Minister budget.
You talk about the three budgets, the emergency, the scene setter, and now you're in transition, moving with 552.9 billion allocated for the next 12 months or so in terms of transforming Ghana. Yes, a higher allocation, and you mentioned the two projects. On Amelia Falls, you were in the Parliament on Monday just talking about it, but just a recap of that. When is that likely to come on board? What are we looking at for such a project?
Amelia Falls is likely to start within the definitely within the second half of this year. We're likely to see the start of the construction of Amelia Falls. And by our projections, by 2027, that project should be completed, and we, as a people, will be getting 165 megawatts of electrical power from Amelia Falls come 2027. I mean, if I cast you back to recent history, I will always argue that, you know, had Amelia Falls remained on stream as a bipartisan project from when it was conceptualized and, you know, to when it was scuttled by the now opposition coalition, the AP and UAFC, had they supported that project, we would have had 165 megawatts of electricity available to the people of Guyana since 2017. However, we're back in power now, and it's a project that we firmly believe is part of the whole transformative agenda for the people of Guyana. So Amelia Falls will start this year, as I mentioned, definitely in the second half of 2022. And all things being equal, 2027, we will have 165 megawatts of electricity from Amelia Falls. And everybody in Guyana by now know about the gas to energy project. That project is slated to start this year. However, all things being equal, by 2024, we, the people of Guyana, will have 300 odd megawatts of electricity by 2024 from that project. Now, what is important for the people of Guyana to understand is that that is not an increase in the amount of electricity available for the people of Guyana. that will lead to a reduction, a vast reduction in what we're paying for electricity in Guyana, possibly by half of what we're paying for electricity in Guyana. So there again, two projects that falls under the ambit of the Office of the Prime Minister that will transform Guyana. And therefore, that is the buzzword now. Everybody is using the word transformation, transformative. Because we believe in that, and it will be a realization in this alphabet term in office.
We talk about those two expected to come on stream, but the current one we have to deal with. And there are two things that happened in recent times.
Mm-hmm.
One, we're looking at the Garden of Eden power plant, which is Wartzilla, which had to be taken offline to check it back when that was an upgrade of itself. And then, of course, there is the issue of the stability of power being produced currently as we
certainly.
So, what is budget 2022 going to do to address the current power generation scheme? Well,
in terms of Garden of Eden, that's an extremely short-term measure in the sense that we deliberately took those 5 generators offline that were supplying 46.5 megawatts because we saw some indicators and our experts decided that, look, we should take it offline and do some inspection. At present, the Wartzilla team is concluding those inspections and they're in the process of bringing back online those generators. So just in a matter of maybe another week or 2 weeks, all those generators will be back online. We'll have the 46.5 megawatts electricity from those generators. The Garden of Eden project is a short-term project. It's a project that is based on utilization of fossil fuel. All right? The Amelia Falls project, as you know, is renewable energy project, and the gas to energy project, while it is using gas, it is clean energy and it's cheaper energy and it's a transition project for us. Now, what we are also doing, we're expending a lot of money last year and this year again on repairing the transmission and distribution system. And at the same time, as the Minister of Finance had mentioned in his budget, we've allocated money to build a new transmission system. So all in all, in the medium to long term, we will see an improvement not only in the generation of electricity with adequate electricity, reduction in price, but also stability in terms of the voltage level of electricity being supplied to households and to businesses.
That in the short to medium term should also alleviate the issues that we've been having with maintenance of the Demerara or these interconnected systems.
Exactly. That focuses on the transmission, repairs to the transmission line, is related to improving the voltage fluctuation that people complain about, and need to stabilize the electricity. Also, a reduction in line loss. A lot of electricity is loss from line loss. It will result in a greater efficiency in the electricity being transmitted and distributed through the DBIS, the Demerara-Berbice interconnected system. But as we are on energy, there are many other projects that the people of Guyana must be told about, as we go through this year. There's the Kumu Falls Hydro Project in Region 9 that is likely to give us 1.5 megawatts of electricity. There's the Mokomoko. As you know, we had electricity from Mokomoko years ago, but then there was a landslide that destroyed the whole system there. So we're repairing Mokomoko, and when Mokomoko comes on stream, it will be 700 kilowatt, of electricity. And something that people don't know about, we have a 1 megawatt solar panel farm that is under construction at Letem. That started in 2021, and that will be completed definitely in the second half of 2022. So basically Region 9, when you add it up, they will have adequate electricity to cater for their existing need and for expansion in terms of investment in industry, other businesses and households that will come on stream from the housing projects that we have throughout Guyana, which also include, I think, about 800 house lots being given out in Region 9. So you have adequate electricity to cater for that. K2 in Region 8, that has been problematic, and that is money is allocated for the completion of K2 this year, and that itself will lead to more electricity available for the people in that area. Then we have the 30,000 solar panels that is coming to Guyana this year, and that will be distributed to households. You recall that years ago, in the previous PPP government, we had distributed solar panels to households, mainly in the hinterland. Now, this is an improved version of the solar panel, and again, we're going to distribute that to the households, and of course, that will lead to transforming the way people live in the interior, because electricity is important to improve people's lives anywhere, any part of the world. There are many other small projects like microgrids projects, that will be started in 2022, and basically the plan is to, as much as possible, have electrical energy supplied to people wherever they live, in whatever community, the villages or so wherever they are in the interior. So a lot of things are happening on the front in terms of electricity generation. We have 33 megawatts solar panel, 3 solar panel farms that also will start construction this year, and that will improve electricity in Berbice, because one of the farms will be in Berbice, one will be in Essequibo, and one will be in Linden. So these are some of the big projects, the medium and small projects that will improve lives of the people wherever they're located in Guyana, that will transform their life, because it's electricity for everyone.
It's interesting that we talk electricity and putting all of that into place, which will allow me to segue into the next section. Connectivity and telecommunications falls onto you since the liberalization of the sector. And of course, as you spoke, a lot of connectivity, a lot of power generation in the hinterland regions as well. The connectivity part falls into place not only for business, but also for education and everything else that comes with that. What are we looking at? What are we going to expect in terms of a major project to come on stream, at least one, and the continuation of what was already started?
Well, with the liberalization, the effect of liberalization of the telecommunications sector has led to greater competition among the major operators in that sector. And what we have seen is an expansion, in terms of the infrastructure by the major operators. You have better connectivity in the Essequibo coast now, because, better connectivity in Linden, better connectivity in, lower East Bank Demerara, in Berbice, because all the major actors are basically expanding their infrastructure. They've invested in that, and we will continue to work with them like we did in 2021 towards facilitating whatever required in terms of like spectrum, and whatever other areas we could facilitate them in expanding to bring better service to the people, right? Notwithstanding that, from the government side through the NDMA, we've also improving the service available to all government facilities, hospitals, schools, community centers, and so. The plan is to have greater interconnectivity, better service, you talk about education, e-education, there's e-agriculture, e-health. All these facilities will come on stream as we improve ICT connectivity. There is a project that unfortunately should have been improving interconnectivity long now for the people of Guyana. And I keep repeating it whenever, we have these interviews. There's $17.1 million was allocated for this project. And basically nothing was done in 5 years, from 2015 to 2020. On assuming office in August 2020, we've revived that program. We've provided money, right, for retrofitting, as mentioned in the budget, and construction of ICT hubs. And the plan is that starting this year, we may not complete it this year, but definitely starting this year, we will roll out the ICT connectivity project to 200 communities in our hinterland, what we consider hinterland, remote areas, and also poor areas. Some of those areas might be, along the riverine areas and so closer to the coast, but ensuring that they're all connected. So that money is available. That money was available a long time ago, but we're utilizing that money now to ensure that the people, wherever they are, benefit from greater and better interconnectivity, ICT connectivity, because Corona has taught us a lesson. Coronavirus has taught us a lesson, and we need to get involved in what is termed accelerated digitization. We have to get there. We have to connect our people. We have the Gold Scholarship. This is education and the public service ministry, but the Gold Scholarship, for the Gold Scholarship to be successful and reach people in all the hinterland areas, the connectivity, ICT connectivity, is essential to the goal program being a successful program, especially in our hinterland areas.
Given that it's online.
Yeah.
Telecommunications and public affairs, which also falls under you.
Yes,
and this is the sector where in which I fall, the state agency, the state media, NCN, the Department of Public Information, as well as the national, the GNNL, the chronic sector. You talk about advancing, and then of course with everything, media is critical to getting the information out.
Exactly.
The allocations, there are a lot of developments, technology is constantly changing and improving the way in which we see. You look at your television screen, the video is clearer, the audio is crisper, it comes over as this high-end, very high-end production. What can we look forward to? And this is me.
No, certainly.
This is me looking forward to having a better television set and a better camera to go to capture stuff. What are we looking for in terms of the area of public affairs?
Well, we have started since August 2020, and you know quite rightly that we've expended a lot of money in improving the technology available to you, the operators in the public communication sector, and that is an ongoing project, an ongoing program, and we have money allocated this year. Of course, now is the time to get rid of all the analog systems that you had and be more in the digital age. But not only the modernization from an equipment standpoint, what is important is also having that, what I would call the communication reach, whether it's broadcasting or, getting the newspaper out, reaching the people in their community. So the whole project that was started in terms of radio station for all 10 administrative regions and remote communities, to ensure that they're connected, that will be continuing this year. We've have money allocated for that. But then there's also another important aspect, capacity building, right? Training of the existing, employees, the human resource, and also youngsters who want to come into the communication stream, So there's talk about, and we supporting that, the establishment of an academy, or some institution of learning in the area of communication studies and so. Of course, it will not be a standalone activity or a standalone institution. We will have a stakeholder approach. We know that a lot of work is being done in communications training at University of Guyana and other agencies. So the effort is, really to collaborate with what is being done and, try to package it to lead to an improvement in our delivery of public communications, to the people of Guyana, wherever they are. So there's a modernization in terms of equipment that I mentioned, and the capacity building of the human resources, and we will continue to fund and support both aspects in the 2022 budget. It's part of transformation.
It's part of the transformation. Essentially. Let's take a walk away from that for a second, and you are also head of the Civil Defense Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of this that we've spoken about, connectivity, communication, moving, the CDC is pretty much integral to everything. And we've had shocks or
Yes.
setbacks or challenges in the economy. The CDC, for all intents and purposes, works along with the region as the coordinating agency. Plans for the expansion of the CDC on the cards this year?
Well, not so much expansion in terms of increase in numbers of employees, but a number of improvement in the way how we do business at the CDC. One of the things that we want to do, and we've started last year, is to train the leaders in the administrative regions, and if possible right down to the local government level, because they're the first responders to any disaster, right, in their community and in that region. So we need to have the regional disaster coordinating mechanism in place and trained to deal with disasters as they happen, with the understanding that the central body is there to support. For example, in Region 9, 2020, 2021, we've improved their capacity greatly to deal with disaster. They have a facility now, which is a shelter, a bond, an operations center, and offices, to deal with disaster. And we saw how useful that was in the May-June rain season when Region 9 was affected by the floods, And we want to replicate that system in all of the regions, because we know what will happen during the rainy season. And we saw what happened in May, June last year. So we want to improve the capacity at all the regional administrative level to deal with disaster. And also at the headquarters, the building is being completed now. So we're better able to house and enhance our operational capability in terms of monitoring, what is going on in terms of disaster, relief operations, and even long-term planning, like, floodplains analysis, and, spending time with coming up with disaster mitigation plans and recommendations, which can be fed to central government, the cabinet, to help in development planning, because, climate change will be with us, and we have to be resilient as a country. We have to spend money on disaster mitigation. It's a lot of money, but we required for that, but we have to do it in a systematic way, You could plan over a 5-year period, and then you identify priorities. You deal with year 1 and you move on to year 2, year 3. So at the end of it, over a period of time, we become a more resilient society to deal with the challenges that comes with climate change. And of course, the training of the, I mentioned training at the regional level, but even training of the people at the CDC itself, that is ongoing, and that will continue to be supported through the budget in 2022. We even building a facility here in Georgetown, in addition to the office, where we could have, instead of having to use the sports hall or the gymnasium or the exhibition site, we have our own area where we can quickly put together relief supplies and distribute it to affected areas.
That's interesting that you want to put that. It's being replicated, as you said, so it's natural that one will be within Region 4 Georgetown area. Are you satisfied then within the last few years the work done by the CDC of itself in terms of responding to and working along with regional bodies and so to respond to disasters?
Yeah, certainly. The CDC has been, very impressive in terms of their work from the time we get into office. And it's not a standalone organization. It's really a coordinating agency. And they've done a good job at coordinating the response to emergencies in Guyana. And you would have seen that during the May, June floods, the political level, that is central government, the regional democratic level, the neighborhood democratic level, and all the sectors, like agriculture, drainage and irrigation, public works, the CDC was the main unit that really helped to coordinate all our responses. So I would take this opportunity to commend the CDC. I mean, a lot of young people working overtime. I'm quite impressed with the level of expertise and experience that they would have gained from doing this type of work over the last couple of years. And we, as a government, will continue to facilitate and build on that. Not only did the CDC, using the same coordinating mechanism and stakeholder approach, worked on putting together and delivering disaster relief supply and, to Guyana, but you will recall that the CDC, working with the private sector and the government of Guyana, were able in the shortest possible time to load, I think, about 3 boats, 3 boatloads of relief supplies, and dispatch it to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I think some also went to Barbados when they were affected by the volcano. That was a commendable effort by all the stakeholders, again coordinated through the CDC.
We're in the area where we're talking about responses, but you're also head of the COVID-19 task force.
Yes.
And this one, of course, comes across a number of ministries, agencies, and sectors. And health has had a big push, a big allocation this year in terms of dealing with that, coordinating, looking over the entire COVID-19 situation in terms of looking at the various responses. Money's allocated for that as well. What are some of the areas in which the task force sees it needs to look into to strengthen as government manages this pandemic?
Well, first of all, the vaccination program is the most formidable weapon that we have against COVID-19 right now. That is managed by the Ministry of Health, yes, but as a task force, we've been trying to get the message over to all the communities. We've worked with the Tushaus, right? We've had meetings with the Tushau Council. We've had meetings with religious leaders, because, this whole issue of vaccine hesitancy will affect us achieving herd immunity, right? The reality of a country like Guyana, a small developing country like Guyana, is that we would have invested a lot of money in acquiring vaccines for every person in Guyana. And I say every person because that's only Guyanese, right? We know of Venezuelans who were economic refugees. They came up and they took the vaccines. So once you're in Guyana, we have vaccine for you. And, we want the people to come forward and take the vaccine because, as I said, the vaccination program and the vaccine is the major weapon in the fight against COVID-19 in Guyana. You take the vaccine, you stand a better chance of, surviving if you contract COVID-19. The other aspect of it is the message of adhering to the measures. People sanitizing, washing your hands, sanitize your hands, wear your mask, watch your distance. We've crafted messages, and we're working in terms of getting the message over, encouraging people to adhere to the measures and to enforce the measures. There's so many cases of illegal gatherings, and some gatherings were approved with the understanding that people would follow the protocols and adhere to the measures, but then you had cases after approval, people just, throw caution to the wind and disregard the protocols, and then you have a situation where you have a crowded activity and it becomes a super spreader activity. Our message to the people of Guyana is that the fight against COVID-19 starts with each one of us as individuals. We have to be responsible. And you see other countries are even removing some of those measures because, you have people complain that, they're pent up, they want the freedom. But come back to the whole thing, the vaccine, taking the vaccine will help us to ensure that you have all those freedoms that you want. So we need people to take the vaccine, we need people to be responsible, follow the measures, stay away from all these super spreader events, the crowds at, like the seawall and, and other sports activities, and so we should discourage that at this time. And that's what the task force is working with the Ministry of Health to get the message over to the people, to encourage them to take the vaccine, to follow the measures, and also when it becomes necessary to enforce those measures. And more you'll see us, going to nightclubs and, other unauthorized parties and gatherings and trying to, to bring some level of order to those activities in keeping with the protocols, because, come back to it again, we have to live. We took office on the 2nd of August 2020, and we reached a country that was shut down. And we decided that, look, we need to bring this country out of this shutdown, this panic against COVID-19, utilizing all the measures and the protocols so, we can protect people's lives and livelihood. People can get back to work, utilizing the science, and that is the way to go. But as I mentioned, COVID-19, I keep repeating over and over, it's the fight against COVID-19 starts with us as individuals, and we have to be responsible. We all know, I'm quite certain every Guyanese by now, I went into the interior, I went to Cortuco, I go to other locations that are fairly remote, and you see the children and the people are wearing the masks, So the message is out there, And my take is that if people in the remote areas can follow those measures, the people on the coastline who are very close to us and bombarded every day, they're the ones who have access to the television, the Facebook and social media and everything. We need to do better as a people, and we need to take that vaccine. We're at the stage now where we have boosters for everybody, a third vaccine. Many countries in the world, developing countries, have not reached a stage yet. All in all, we 82%, just above 82% of the population already took the first dose, adult population, and we have just over 61% would have taken both doses. That is commendable, but as a people with a small population, under 1 million, we can do better because we have the means of vaccinating everybody in Guyana, right? We have masks for everybody, right? You know, we have sanitization fluids available all over. Let us do better, and let us, as much as possible, you know, try to stay away from these super spreader events, because we need our human resource, right, to to be alive and to help us in this whole transformative agenda. It's no use we have a budget where we have money to spend on all these projects to improve lives and livelihood in Guyana, and the people are dying out because of disregard for the COVID-19 measures. So let us be responsible, follow the measures, be on board, and contribute to the development of Guyana, and benefit, you know, from what is available in the budget and in future budgets.
PM, as you come back to the word of the budget, we start debates in a few hours, and then it goes for about a week, and then we get to the stages where we go through line by line, item by item.
Yes.
Are you confident that your sector, your ministry, your office, will get the go-ahead pushed through with the allocations made to ensure that these projects come online?
Certainly. We've been through it before. We were under the scrutiny of the opposition. They asked the questions. We had the technical staff there with the political, the politicians in Parliament, and we have answered the question in the past, and there's no reason why I should be worried that we wouldn't be able to do it next week. The whole aim is transparency. The opposition has, you know, its work to do. They have a right to question, and we are obligated to provide the answers. So that is a process, and we are ready.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for chatting with us. Best wishes for the next year, pushing through the budget, and of course executing the projects identified under your ministry, and of course by extension the government and the rest of your cabinet, ministers and colleagues going forward.
Yes, and I just want to end by saying to the people of Guyana, this is a transformative budget. This is a budget that is focused on bringing development for all the people of Guyana. So I just appeal to you to get on board, support this budget, and support all the measures, because you, the people of Guyana, including me and my family, will benefit from this budget. And as I said, the transformation starts now, and there will be similar budgets in the future to keep progress and development alive in Guyana.
Prime Minister Brigadier Mark Phillips chatting there with us. Thank you very much for tuning in for this edition of the Budget in Focus. You have a pleasant rest of your day. Goodbye.
Okay.